And we're off. Hi, gang. Welcome to the live post-game recap of the Dolphins' 33-27 loss against the New England Patriots in the home opener at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday. Before we get going, thanks everyone for joining us. As always, my quick note to please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Check out our written content at Miami Dolphins on SI.com, where all the content is free. The good news, it was a better performance than it was against the Colts in week one. The bad news is this was not a good New England team, and this was a New England team that was basically doing everything it could to let the Dolphins win, including the 12 penalties, 2 missed extra points, and a short kickoff after they go up 33-27. And then the Dolphins had the ball twice. First time down by 3, second time down by 6. That's what the offense did. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most jarring thing for me was New England is in, year 1.5 of this kind of new rebuild, right? Like if you want to count, because May was here last year, it's year 1 with Vrabel, year 2 with Drake May. I'm calling it year 1.5 of the rebuild. You expect them to be a little bit sloppy. They're a younger team. They don't really have the talent. Mike Vrabel just got there. Sure. The Miami Dolphins are in year four of Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill. A lot of the big core pieces on both sides of the ball have been here for multiple seasons, especially on offense. You have a lot of continuity. Not a serious football team right now. That was my takeaway. Just not. I think we can get into this, and I don't want to ramble too much at the top of the show, but
good.
We can sit here and talk about scheme all we want. The penalties is what killed them today, especially on offense, and they had a few on defense too. They were just incredibly untimely. In the first half, they bailed New England out of a bunch of long and late down and distances from penalties. And then on offense, they had, 4 procedural penalties on the final 2 drives that put them behind the sticks, and then they got sacked twice and had an interception. Patrick Paul had the false start. They couldn't go for 2. They kicked the extra point. They go into the half down 1 instead of 2. And then the last one, I promise I'll stop, is the Aaron Brewer holding that Malik Washington catch and run that would have been first and goal off the board. And they kicked another field goal, Riley Patterson. So you just robbed yourself of all these points on penalties. Not a serious football team 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, and I see on social media some people are dumping on Keon Smith and Larry Borum because they got beat for late sacks, and they absolutely got beat. Overall, they hung in there and did a pretty solid job. And the other part of it too is there were penalties on the offensive line all over the place. You mentioned the Patrick Paul false start on the 2-point conversion. Aaron Brewer was called for not 1, 2 holding penalties, and Jonah was called for holding penalties. For a holding penalty, not penalties. So that was bad. And you mentioned the last 2 drives, back-to-back, either delay, false start, or false start delay, and they were 2nd and 20 both times. After the near Devon Achane touchdown, where he clearly did step out of bounds, they had the ball 1st and 10 at the New England 26 with 1:09 left. You're going to tell that's not enough time to get it done. And they
had a timeout too.
And a timeout.
They still had their timeout.
And then again, completely flopped the same issue the previous drive. And yeah, Tua wound up being sacked 5 times. But can we all agree that he's not exactly quick to get out of the pocket when danger is coming? Let's gonna be honest about that. It's not like he's got no shot on every single solitary sack. Sorry. And this, you saw the difference because the Dolphins actually had decent pressure today compared to what they had against the Colts. They did wind up sacking Drake May 3 times, Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb, and Jordan Brooks. And they got close a couple of other times there, including that long completion to Ramondre Stevenson down the right sideline. Jalen Phillips was all over him, and Drake May just slid into the side of the pocket and made that throw. And this is where Tua's not a scrambling quarterback, but he's got to be able to extend plays and not give up the sack the second there's pressure on him. And that happened too much today.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even get to what happened during the play sometimes. It's just we can't even get lined. They can't even get lined up, right? It's just you put Keon Smith and Larry Borum in positions to fail, right? It's 4th and 9 instead of, I mean, like you said, it was 1st and 10 at the 26 or whatever, 1:09. You have a timeout. You have all day You have a timeout. The whole field's open to you. And you end up in 4th and 9 with no timeout and time running down. And yeah, you lose an obvious pass rush rep where the player that the Patriots paid $100 million this offseason beats your backup right guard.
Yep.
It is what it is. Like, you shouldn't be in that scenario. You shouldn't, like, that shouldn't have happened. And on the previous drive, it's the same thing, right? Where Tua threw the interception and he's trying to make something happen there. He's trying to do what you just said, but it's not his game, and it wasn't a great decision or a good throw, and it was a pick, but you shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. You shouldn't be in that spot, and it is really, really frustrating for this team to come out and have these procedural problems in year 4. Yeah. And I got to listen to a bit of Mike McDaniel's podium before we hopped on, and he kind of said, I need to get these things ironed out. This has been a problem for 4 years. Like, even when the Dolphins offense was humming, they would still have a couple plays per game where they weren't lined up and the play would come in super late and it would be a disaster. But when you're a team that is fighting for its life, now those penalties matter a lot more. You robbed yourself of those 2 drives to take the lead, regardless of Keon Smith's performance or Tua's performance in that moment. You put both of those players in a position to fail. And then earlier in the game, you have the 2-point conversion comes off the board from a penalty, and you lose 1st and goal on the holding call. You're just leaving so many points on the board with these penalties, and you're robbing yourself of really good situations. And then it's absurd that that's happening in year 4. It just is.
Yeah, but it's not just the offense. The defense, again,
100%.
Was not good. And part of it is, and we saw, why is Willie Gay Jr. not getting more playing time? And we saw him in the open field. He's by far the fastest linebacker on the team. And this is where I'm going to bring up again, at the risk of doing this. I don't like doing this. Well, who am I kidding? I love doing this. But this notion, I got media members asking Dolphin players about this idea that they could be one of the best front sevens in the NFL. This is what this summer, and it was like, why? Because they have big names among their pass rushers. Tyrell Dotson's just serviceable player, but let's not forget the Seattle Seahawks had him for half a year and decided he wasn't good enough, particularly in coverage, and waived him, and that's how the Dolphins got him. Jordan Brooks is a nice player. I like Jordan Brooks. But Ramondre Stevenson is no speed burner, and Ramondre Stevenson easily got behind him on that play. Why is Jordan Brooks stuck in coverage with him? And I saw Jalen Phillips in coverage a couple of times early on. And again, I like Jalen Phillips. He's a try-hard kind of guy. Great effort. Got some pressure a little bit at times today, but can we stop putting him in coverage, please? He's not a coverage dude. That's not his forte. And the defense is, again, I'm hard-pressed, just like last week, to find somebody who played great, even the 3 guys who had a sack. Like Bradley Chubb's 1 sack came 1 play after it's a 3rd and 1. And he comes in unimpeded to the line and then makes a beeline to the tight end while Ramondre Stevenson is basically running right by him with nobody in between. I'm like, what are you saying here? Why don't you go for the guy with the ball instead of going to engage the blocker? I don't know. That was weird. But bottom line is, there's nobody who's playing great on defense through 2 games. There's nobody who's even playing well on defense through 2 games. But they did get a stop.
Hang the banner. Hang it. Put it in the rafters.
In the second half. And then the special teams, just after I put out a tweet, this was after Malik Washington's punt return for a touchdown, which was, holy smokes, that was good. I put out a tweet of like the special teams have been good like throughout the summer and the start of the season, and boom, they give up a 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. It's like Murphy's Law right now, and I picked the Dolphins to win this game. I picked them to win by 3. I don't like the juju on this team. I haven't liked it all summer, and right now we're not even looking at the fact that they're playing Buffalo on Thursday night at Buffalo and staring at the very distinct possibility of being 0-3.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be. And to your point on the defense, I'll be curious to see what the film and the numbers say. But I think you saw the Dolphins again have to blitz more than they wanted to today because they weren't getting proper pressure with 4 early in this game. And I think you saw the Patriots take advantage of that with just a lot of like really quick, easy throws. And they just there was a couple screens that were dialed up perfectly into blitzes that went for explosive plays. Stevenson had, I think, 2, and I think Henderson had another one where it was just dialed up perfectly into a blitz. And the Dolphins are not a team that wants to blitz. They'll do it, but ideally in that system and with the players that they have, they should not be blitzing. And I'll be curious to look back at the tape and see what that says, but that's just my hunch off of watching the game. And I think if you go and watch Drake May, and what I saw was a lot of what I saw last week against the Colts is the Dolphins are not sticky in the short area of the field. There's all these easy access throws to open space where guys are turning and running upfield. I mean, I would think maybe 5 or 6 times the Dolphins had somewhere between 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 12, and the Patriots just had a little dump off that went for 8 or 9 yards, and then it went from 2nd and 12 to 3rd and 2. And then they converted. And when you can't operate like that. And I like Drake May. I'm a Drake May truther. I always have been, going back to his college days at North Carolina. But I don't even think he did anything crazy in this game. He just took a bunch of easy throws. The throw to Booty in the end zone was phenomenal. That was a great throw and catch. I'm not trying to take anything away from him there. But the rest of the game, it's just easy access throws, screens, throwing the ball into open space. They talked about Anthony Weaver and his press availability this week. Talked about we need to be stickier in cover 2. We're allowing too many easier throws. We weren't where we were supposed to be. Yada yada yada. It's the same stuff this week. I don't know that I saw as many straight up communication issues.
No. What?
But there was a few still, and they still weren't sticky in the short area of the field. So I don't really know. They know what the problem is. It didn't get addressed this week, and I think for the Patriots, they just walked up and down the field for the most part outside of the 2 stops that Miami got that weren't kneel downs. And it didn't really look very hard for them, frankly. And I think that's what worries me with this team is they're starting to come out of who they want to be on defense already, and it's week 2.
Well, here's the thing. On the touchdown, Jack Jones actually had good coverage on Booty, but
I agree.
He didn't play the ball. But there were 2 plays on the first drive, again, and I don't know if it was Dotson or Jordan Brooks, but 22-yard gain to Austin Hooper, wide open, because he starts off at the line of scrimmage and he's kind of pretending like he's going to block and not moving very fast, and all of a sudden he kind of releases down the left sideline and the Dolphins are caught flat-footed. And then Mac Hollins touchdown, my Lord, could that have been easier? He just basically very simple out route, and the defense is slow to react. It's an easy pitch and catch, and just not good. I will say this on the offense going back. Hallelujah. Somebody listen to me. 3rd and 13, chuck it down the field. And
they did.
Again, the options are it's going to be incomplete. It's going to be a completion. You're going to get a DPI, or worst case scenario, you're going to get an interception, which can serve now as a punt, unless the absolute worst case scenario is an interception and then a pick 6. But what are the percentages of that? And it was badly underthrown, but the New England defender never looked around to see the ball. Tyreek played the ball perfectly well the entire time. Boom, voila, 47 yards. And then beyond that, in the first half, the Dolphins made some money with this. They didn't do it nearly as much in the second half, and I don't know if New England adjusted. I have to look at the all-22 overhead. Is that 15-yard out near the sideline? The Dolphins made so much money with that throw, like in 2022 and 2023, not as much last year. Certainly not in game 1, but in game 2, it's easy money. But again, the offense, Tua's numbers are going to be I know there are certain members of the media who are hung up on passer rating. His passer rating is going to show 115, and while I'd say overall he was solid, came up kind of short at the end, and that's just not quite good enough.
And I wrote that in the recap that's on Dolphins on SI right now. You can go read it. It's free. You should read it. And I wrote pretty much exactly that in my review of the offensive play this week is I thought Tua played well for the most part in this game, right? The first half, they had the bad start, right? He threw that interception that got called back for the offsetting penalties, but I thought he found his footing. He was accurate. He was on time, much better decision maker through the first quarter, second quarter. Thought he was fine in the third quarter. And you get to those, the second to last drive where he throws that interception. And I don't even, it's not that I'm not holding it against him, right? But I think you just see the limitations of his prototype as a player there, right? Like, I don't know that it's even like, I thought Tua was terrible there. Like, he had to make something happen, right? Like, the worst thing you can do there is take a sack on that fourth down, right? You got to at least give somebody a chance.
Okay.
And he tries to maneuver through the pocket and throw the ball on the move. And like, he just doesn't really have the facilities for that unless the receiver's wide open and there's nobody around him, right? So like, it is what it is. I thought Tua was fine today, but when so many things procedurally around him aren't going well and the defense can't stop anybody, you can't just be, kind of a cog in the machine. You're going to have to make a few plays, and Tua just couldn't do it today. I'm not even like necessarily holding it against him. That's always been the case. Even when this offense was humming, that was always, they were going to have to win, with some other parts that were playing a little bit better. That's always been the case. I don't think that takes anything away from Tua. It is what it is. It's just today it wasn't enough. The things that were going on around him and also involving him were just dragged the offense down too much for him to overcome that. He didn't have the facilities to do it.
Except, here's what I would say, though. Given the limitations of his game, where he basically provides nothing in terms of making plays off schedule or avoiding sacks, and then this is where I know some fans are going to be like, well, I've seen it do it before. Yes. I mean, on a less than rare basis is what I'm talking about. He's got to be really, really on point with his passing. And to me, the most egregious play of the final two drives from his standpoint wasn't the pick or the sacks. It was the overthrow to Tyreek Hill wide open in the field. Yeah. This was on the ball would have been about the 35-yard line of New England if he completes that throw, which was
roughly
pitch and catch. Instead, that was first and 15. Then you have the false start. Now we're looking at second and 20.
Yeah, that looked a lot like the interception early against Indianapolis, where he just sailed the inbreaker. It was a little bit closer to the sideline, this one, but it was off the broadcast copy, roughly the same route and throw. It was a little bit different, but like pretty much the same thing. And New England was already backed up, so there was no even deeper safety to pick it off. But like, yeah, he definitely sailed that one. And again, I think you saw what this is who Tua is, in my opinion. Like, this is what he's always been. He can make some nice throws. He'll hit open receivers. He's got a quick release. He's mostly accurate in the short area of the field. He's not a creator. He's not going to go off script. He's not going to go, and if you don't block up front, he's not going to go make a play for you. If you put him in second and 20 because personnel groupings are late getting on the field or play calls are late or whatever the reasoning is, he's not going to go and dig you out of that hole consistently. He might do it once or twice, and he even did it earlier on the one drive. He made a nice throw under pressure to Nick Westbrook-Akine on third down. They converted that one third down. But you ask him to do that 3, 4, 5 times down the stretch, it's just not a situation in which he's going to be successful. That's not his game. It is what it is. You can't put a quarterback like Tua that far behind the sticks in that situation. It's not going to go well for him. He sails to throw to Tyreek Hill. He has the interception on the other one. He's not exactly a player who's going to avoid sacks. If Keon Smith misses a block, it's probably going to be a sack. If Larry Barham misses a block, it's probably going to be a sack. And we could sit here all day and talk about offensive line personnel failings from the past whatever years, how much you think that matters, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter. The Dolphins should understand this at this point in the process in year 4. And they did not put those players in a situation to be successful in that moment. And that's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. And again, we're not saying that the offensive line was perfect, because it wasn't. And we're not saying that every sack is on Tua, or at least I'm not saying that, but to suggest that he got sacked 5 times, look how much the offensive line sucked. I'm sorry, I'm not ready to go that far either. Hat tip to Devon Achane. Touchdown again, showed toughness near the goal line, about the 2-yard line. And then we're going to look at the final numbers on the ground. And again, it really slowed to a halt in the fourth quarter. And I'm looking at these numbers here. I have -2. I have 1 for 0. And I don't have all my play-by-play here. But again, there were a lot of runs that went nowhere after the first touchdown drive was kind of, powered by the run. Interesting use of Malik Washington getting handoffs in the backfield. It's like, why are we not using Ollie Gordon more?
I mean, Malik Washington goes 3 of 23 for 7 yards a pop. I'm fine with that.
Not on those though. I mean, he got a lot on the end around. He gained a lot of yardage. The 2 up the middle, it was 4 and 5 yards.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I want to see more Ollie Gordon. The problem to me is why you don't see Ollie Gordon though is you only have 15 carries in this football game. You keep falling behind by multiple scores early in the game. You got to throw the ball around the yard to keep up. And I agree with you, right? Because they come out in that opening drive down 6-0. They run the ball well, right? They run the ball up the middle. They're moving people off the line. Devon Achane's getting to the second level. It looks good, but they don't score early, and the Patriots are all of a sudden find themselves up by 2 scores. But now you got to throw the ball, right? And it's you're playing from behind constantly, playing from behind, and you take the lead and you can't hold it for 2 seconds. So then you got to throw again all the way down the field multiple times, try and score a game-winning touchdown. I just have a difficult time evaluating the running game. I really do. Like, not getting a lot of carries in situations in which I would expect a carry to be successful. But yes, would I like to see more Ollie Gordon? Yeah, 1 carry for 3 yards is ridiculous. He should have more carries than that for sure.
Okay, well, I have like HN, if my numbers are correct, I have him for 6 for 8 in the second half. And that's after his first carry gained 7 yards. So his last 5 carries gained 1 yard. That's not good. No, that's not good. And how much of that was having Borum and Smith in the lineup as opposed to Jackson and Daniels? Sure. I also saw Patrick Paul get beat a couple of times one-on-one today, which I had not seen all summer and in the preseason and in the regular season opener. So again, it wasn't all on everybody or on those 2 guys. And now the Dolphins find themselves at 0-2. We should address the fact, yes, there was a banner that flew over the stadium before the game, Fire Greer, Fire McDaniel. Then there were boos. And I think, as I predicted on the Dolphins Collective, when somebody asked, well, when will the boos come out? And I said the second they go 3-and-out on offense. And lo and behold, the first drive of the game, they go 3-and-out, and it included what would have been a butt-ugly interception, if not for, I believe it was Chason lining up offside. And then the Dolphins negated that. The Dolphins negated that with a holding penalty.
Yeah, it was offsetting.
Yeah, correct. So Keon Smith did have a holding penalty. I think Borum's the only one who was not flagged along the offensive line. So for those wondering about this, no, the Dolphins are not going to make a coaching change after losing to the Patriots, who, again, are not a great team, who committed 12 penalties, who gave the Dolphins the ball at the 40 to start their final drive, who missed 2 extra points because they play a Thursday night game. Logistically, that's not something you would ever do. I do believe Stephen Ross's patience is going to run thin pretty damn quick, particularly when you hear boos. And that might be followed by apathy. They play a Monday night game against the Jets in week 4 with the rivalry jerseys. If the Dolphins get waxed by Buffalo on Thursday night, and right now it's very, very hard to think of anything other than that, considering Buffalo just beat the New York Jets, was it 30-10? Then with a mini bye, I'm not one to predict firings, but if it were to happen, if the Dolphins again do get waxed by Buffalo, if you were to tell me that'll be the time Stephen Ross makes a change, I would tell you not crazy for suggesting that. So that was a question that came up to Mike McDaniel in his post-game press conference, and he basically has given the same answer he's always given, which is the correct answer, that that's not what he's thinking about. He can't worry about this. He's just grateful. He understands that comes with the territory. He's grateful to have the job. And it's like he's talking about avoiding this, and this is something that I find amusing. He's talking about we got to avoid these bad starts. Well, you're getting bad starts because right now you're a bad team. It's not like you're doing it on purpose. Like, let's put more focus on having a good start. Well, it's not like they're not trying. They're just not very good right now. And defensively, from the start, it was like against the New England offense that really struggled last week against Las Vegas.
To me defensively, and they had a little bit of juice at the end of the game, but like in that first half, I mean, it looked like there was no juice anywhere. People are getting blown off the ball in the running game. Corners are 5 yards trailing their receivers at all 3 levels of the field. They had the big play to Austin Hooper that you mentioned, right? That they call that tight end leak. Teams get people on that all the time. I get it. It happens. But like, I don't see a unit that is capable of making a lot of big plays even. And I think that's what this team was supposed to be, right? Like, you have the pass rushing unit of really high impact players. And then in the secondary, say what you want about the secondary. You and I have both been very critical of it. But if you look at the group of Minkah Fitzpatrick, Rasul Douglas, Jack Jones, Ashton Davis to somewhat degree, even Ifeatu Melifonwu, are all players who produce on the ball for better or worse. Sometimes it's for worse, and they get beat. Historically speaking, those players are players who have interceptions and pass breakups and whatever. None of that this year, right? They're just guys are just wide open, or they're just throwing these little dump offs, and players are just running through 2 tackles and picking up 8 yards on 2nd and 10. And then instead of an obvious pass rush situation on 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and 2. Yep. and then they're losing that down because it's hard to stop teams on 3rd and 2. It's not easy, even for good defenses, right? Like, that's not a good situation to be in a defense, because you don't know if it's going to be a run. You don't know if it's going to be a pass. It's hard. It's really difficult. And for me, the Dolphins, like, schematically, I think that was where I was most impressed with this team last year. I thought schematically Anthony Weaver was doing a really, really good job making the most of the players that he had available to him on the defensive side of the football. It wasn't always pretty last year either, but I thought schematically they were sound. This year, I don't even know what to say about the scheme. I don't know. I have to dig into the tape and look at, what they were trying to do. But to me, it seems like a team that, again, is getting away from who they want to be. They're just blitzing the hell out of these teams because they can't generate pressure. And Daniel Jones and Drake May are just dumping the ball over their heads, and guys are just running downfield free. And again, maybe my opinion will change after watching some tape, but I doubt it. I feel pretty good about that after watching the game. So it's really strange.
And then they go from Daniel Jones to Drake May to Josh Allen. Kind of a step up here. I do want to mention quickly before we get to the comments, we got over 600 people watching us, and thanks again for joining us, everybody. Chop Robinson, as you saw, was injured left knee when Morgan Moses dove at his leg, which to me is borderline dirty. I hate that play. But Chop came back, so he's fine. And then Ife Melifonwu left the game with a calf injury per the official game book. Mike McDaniel did not have any further information on his status after the game, but here we go again with Ife Melifonwu injured once again.
It looks like he pulled up on the kickoff return from Gibson to me. I saw him limping there, so I think that's where he got hurt.
Okay, and then the Dolphins had 5 players pretty much missed the game because of injuries beyond Austin Jackson, who was placed on IR on Saturday. That would be Darren Waller. That would be Benito Jones, Storm Duck, Jalen Wright, and Ethan Bonner. Of those 5, considering it's a short week, the practice is it's very, very light. If even they have one of those, it would be more like walkthroughs. I'd be surprised if you saw any of the guys who were out who didn't practice last week, Waller, Duck, or Jones, play against the Bills. Maybe on Bonner and Jalen Wright, and then we'll see about what if his status is going to be. So without further ado, let's attack the comments. I'm sure you guys have thoughts on your mind about what we saw here. Birthday Salami. How are you, Birthday? Or Salami. How soon will it be until Ross decides Tua, McDaniel, and Greer are too hip-hop? Wasn't Stephen Ross who decided that Mike Tomlin was too hip-hop? It was somebody in the front office when Wayne Huizinga was the owner back in 2007. Mike Tomlin then was hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who said, thank you very much. My best guess is if there's a move in season, it's going to be McDaniel, Chris Greer. I can't recall the last time I saw a GM get fired during a season. It's extraordinarily rare. And Tua not going anywhere this year, and I'm not sure he's going anywhere next year based on his on his contract. Noel, my friend, how are you, Noel? Thank you very much for the contribution. I feel hollow and empty inside. Hold me. How about I give you a virtual hug? How's this? There it is. It's all good.
There we go. Dolphins therapy.
That's what we're here for. Toby, thank you very much for the contribution. Weaver bad, also Sealer invisible both weeks. WTF. Sealer has been invisible. And I don't know exactly how often he's getting double teamed, but it's not every play because I saw him and he's not getting anything done. And he needs to get something done. Props to Kenneth Grant for having the pass deflected at the line of scrimmage on a third down play. Outside of that, birthday salami here. Thanks again for the contribution. Tua playing like there are Deshaun Watson rumors.
I don't even know what to say about that.
No, and like we said, Tua didn't have a bad game, and there are those who can point to his passer rating and go 115. How can you say he had a bad game? It was very, very efficient, but the bottom line is in the first two drives, it wasn't nearly good enough. The final two drives.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you very much for the contribution. Do appreciate it. Week 2, and this feels like yet another end of an era season we have all seen before in Miami. Not all on him, but Tua appears to be another good but not good enough QB who is going the wrong way.
Through 2 weeks, that seems like a fair assessment, right? Like I don't, and again, I don't want to say I was super bullish on this team, but I did not expect this at all, right? Like I was on the optimistic side of people in Dolphins media for this team. And I agree with your assessment through 2 weeks. It looks like the end of an era type season, and Tua again played well today, but you saw what he is and what he is not in this football game. And that is who he's been for the past few years. So I don't know that it's going to get any better with him. Yeah,
to me, you can win big with Tua as your starting quarterback. I still am not of the opinion, and then I've said this many, many times, even last year, even in 2023, I don't believe you're going to win big because of Tua. Sorry. Randy Rogers, thank you very much, Randy. Rookies, Sealer, Waddle, HN, and Paul should be the only safe players. That's
feels about right. Roughly speaking, I would throw I know he didn't have the best game today, but I'd probably throw like Aaron Brewer onto that, and I would try to I'd try to extend him, bring him back, and like Jordan Brooks maybe. I think would be like the only two that I would add.
Minka, unless you can get something of major value for him in a draft. And I'm sorry, I'm not with you on there. Aaron Brewer, who's a nice center, but I think if the Dolphins do make a regime change, let's scrap the philosophy of finesse.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair. This outside zone and going for mobility in your offensive lineman. Give me a physical center, please.
That's fair. That's a good take. I agree with that.
And I like Brewer, and I like Brewer as a guy, and I like what he is as
he's a scheme specific player, though. You're right. You're right. You're correct. Yeah.
And I'm kind of semi over that scheme because to me it has limitations, and it's not conducive to playoff success because your margin for error, you have to be so precise when everything is built on timing and things like that, as opposed to when it's basically just smash mouth football. You can be off your landmark a little bit more than you can be off your landmark if everything is precision, timing. Call of Duty. That's funny. Call of Duty one. Thank you very much for the contribution. Will there be another player meeting? Omar Kelly is right. Fans are becoming apathetic. Why are we bringing this guy into the conversation? I kid, Omar. I love you, buddy. Not like he's the only one who said that. Right now, no. Right when they're booing, it's not apathetic. When they're flying banners that say "Fire McDaniel," that is not apathetic.
I agree.
It's
the opposite of apathetic, actually.
What?
It's the opposite of apathetic. Yeah.
And that's better because it shows there's a passion for the team. When fans start showing up to the stadium dressed as empty seats, and you don't see that kind of venom on social media or anywhere else, that's when there's an issue.
Yep.
Christian Garcia, thank you very much, Christian. I don't know if this game is all on Tua. The D was bad. Christian, my friend, do you recall us saying that the game was all on Tua?
No, this game's not all on anybody.
No.
This was a systematic failure in so many ways. I mean, you get an amazing punt return on special teams, a go-ahead score, an amazing momentum swing, and then you go and give it right back on the ensuing kickoff. The same unit, they go and give it right back. Like, there's not a single player or unit on this team is off the hook for this loss. There is blame to go around the horn. I think like maybe there's some individual players on defense who were okay. We'll see what the tape says. I'm not convinced, but whatever. That happens. It happened with the Colts last week. But like every unit, every player is going to share some of the blame. This was all around bad, not good. This is not all on anybody. It's all on everybody. This was not a game that you should lose. The Patriots were handing you this game multiple times, and you didn't take it.
No, they were trying. That kicker certainly was trying, and
he was doing his best.
From the U, he was trying to do his best, kicking at his home stadium, and then lo and behold, he makes a 53-yard field goal.
How about that?
Weird. I was thinking Vrabel's crazy for trusting this guy, but
I would have sent May back out there on 4th and 8. I would not have given him the kick. Props to Vrabel for that.
Here's the thing, Christian, is there are certain quarterbacks who really, really determine the outcome of a game one way or the other. I don't put Tua in that category. And when the Dolphins look really great, like when they won 70-20, that wasn't all Tua. And this game certainly wasn't all Tua because they lost. So, and we never said that. So, no, I don't recall the last time I said the Dolphins lost because of Tua. I would say, and again, he was really poor against Indianapolis last week. It wasn't the sole reason they lost. Yeah. Toby, again, thank you very much, Toby. Ali, one physical run for 8 yards and straight to the bench. Yep.
Not great.
I don't get it. I don't understand the usage of him. I don't understand the usage of Willie Gay Jr. But
dude, if I get into the tape tomorrow and I see Tanner Connor with point of attack blocks again, I'm gonna lose my noggin. You want to talk about usage? I'm gonna lose my mind if I see Tanner Connor front side outside zone point of attack block. I'm gonna lose my mind.
But they have two tight ends on the active roster. It's kind of like
he should never be front side. He should be backside every time that you have two tight ends. Julian Hill, for whatever he is a better blocker than Tanner Connor. And the only reason I bring this up now is because this is another 4-year issue for me with Mike McDaniel and this era of the Dolphins is personnel usage. They have players who are better equipped for certain things, and they don't use them. I'm going to lose my mind if I see that on the tape tomorrow.
Well, you lose your mind, or you're going to lose your noggin. Make up your mind.
Both. I'm going to lose. I'm not going to have either. They're both gone out the window.
Let me say this about Waller very quickly, because that's come up a lot on social media, like another Chris Greer blunder and all that. And from where I sit, making that investment for Darren Waller, I have zero issue with it because they paid him a very low salary, number one. Number two, it's a conditional 6 for a conditional 7 as we lose Dante and hopefully he comes back. The issue there, hello, Dante, you got to come back. The issue, or put your, whatchamacallit, there we go. Dante's going to come back. The issue there is this is a guy who didn't play all last year. He retired. You're really not going to back up that particular move. And welcome back, Dante. You're really not going to back up that particular move with somebody else. I don't know, like Noah Fant, and just go really strictly put all the eggs in the Darren Waller basket. And for those who think the Dolphins can just, eventually put him on IR or waive him injured, which could happen at some point, and then just sign Greg Dulcich off the practice squad, and boom, all of a sudden we got a star tight end. He was waived by the New York Giants, is all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I agree. I lost my noggin so bad, my computer just kicked me out of the podcast. But Yeah, I mean, I agree with your point on Waller. My expectations for him were like incredibly low. I basically had none. My opinion was when he signed it, anything that they get out of him is a plus. They traded basically nothing for him. It was a swap of late round picks. They're paying him almost nothing. To me, it's just not that deep. I don't think that it's just not right. Like I don't know that Darren Waller was ever going to be a high impact player this year, even if he was healthy. He had a couple catches a game, maybe he'd make a play here or there, but he's not helping you in the running game. He's not going to be the focal point of your passing attack. You're going to funnel targets to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane way more than you're going to funnel targets to Darren Waller. So, now I think you made this point when I cut out. Would I have done more at tight end than just add Darren Waller? Yes, I would have. But again, that's been a position that this group has mostly ignored since they've been here. They haven't really made any investments in that group at high picks or in free agency outside of like, no, I can't even say that because Jonnu Smith was a really low value contract and that's why he got traded, right? That was
he had been released.
So that one just happened to work out for him. And they tried to do it again with Darren Waller and it's not working out so far.
No, that's putting it mildly. But again, it wasn't keeping him from moving the ball up and down the field in the second quarter. So it's not all about that. See what we got here. Yep. Matt O with a very good point. Had to be a hell of a 5 minutes for Craig Ackerman, right? Thanks for the streams as always. Thank you, Matt. Much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, talk and as the CBS telecast pointed out, for the New England special teams coach as well, where he's going, you know. And for Ackerman, it was the opposite. And it's like I'm literally like, I was like, wow, the Dolphins have turned the corner. They finally have impactful special teams, and then that happens.
Yeah.
Ski, thank you very much for the contribution. Very much appreciated. Mike Green can still stop Tua after taking away the first read. Yeah, didn't have. I mean, but there were a lot of quick throws and open. They made Tua made a lot of money with that quick slant to Achane to Waddle, which is when the Dolphin offense was clicking. No, thanks again for the contribution. Much appreciated. Part of my frustration is I can't blame one aspect of the team. It all seems broken.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's usually when you know you need a reset, is when you don't have anything to hang your hat on. And the Dolphins don't have anything to hang their hat on through 2 weeks.
Correct. Because the passing game and like even today, and we went attacking, it's like the passing game has had its moments, but it also failed in the clutch. The running game had some spurts, like the second quarter was very, very good, and then second half flop. The defense, really nothing. Special teams has mostly been good, but then you give up the 90-yard kickoff return. So, Mr. Infamous, thank you very much for the contribution. They have to fire Greer and McDaniel, not just the coach. They both have to go. Again, if anything is going to happen in season, and I entered the season thinking it would have to go off the rails pretty badly for there to be an in-season coach, losing your opener by 25, losing your home opener, and then if they get waxed at Buffalo, that would qualify as off the rails to me, where I could see an in-season, and then they have the long week with the mini bye. Like I said, I would be shocked if there was a Greer move made in the middle of the season. But I trust me, I get the frustration from fans. Mike Green, thank you very much. Every loss falls on the QB, fellas. Stop it. No, it doesn't.
The caveat there is the question was, is it all on the quarterback? The answer is no. Does the quarterback share in the blame of every loss? Yes. So technically you're not wrong, but that's not the question that we were asked. So we're also not wrong.
And even if you were to say the number one reason the Dolphins lost this game, it certainly wouldn't be Tua for me. I think it would be probably the sloppiness of the operation, where you had back-to-back penalties on your final two drives when you needed a touchdown. That's, to me, is inexcusable.
I agree. Yeah, it's penalties is the number one issue because they were all timely. Even the one that you had on defense, it was 2nd and 20? They got called for defensive holding. The Patriots went down the field and scored 25. A week after you got called for holding on 1st and 30.
Yep. And yes, by the way, it's not the most egregious illegal contact penalty I've ever seen in my life. But the problem is you're wide open in the middle of the field, and there's a little bit of a tug there, or a bump. Again, this was a rookie. There was Jason Marshall Jr., probably not savvy enough, or maybe if it's, I don't know if it's Mike Hilton in there, they let it go, because don't think certain times different players get different calls. That happens. So I don't know. Stu, thank you very much again. Much appreciated. Let's see what else the good folks have to say here. Delay again inside of 2 minutes is inexcusable. It most definitely is. It absolutely is. Vrabel tried everything in his power to lose this game, and we still screwed it up. Not his fault his kicker can't get the ball to the 25-yard line at the end. It's not his fault. His field goal kicker missed 2 extra points. The usage, the clock management at the end of the game after the interception was perhaps questionable. But we shall see.
Yeah.
Ski with an interesting point here. Thank you very much for the contribution. As with everybody else who is donating to the show, it is very, very much appreciated. If they fire McDaniel on Friday, say, I'm not sold on Weaver as interim coach either. We had this discussion in the media room. Hold on, we'll just a quick second. Then I'll get your thoughts. We had this discussion in the media room last week, talking hypothetically speaking. Nobody get upset. Hypothetically speaking. And to me, I was like, I don't know. Darrell Bevel's is a 2-time interim head coach. Eric Studesville is a former interim head coach. Who else have we said? I threw it as a wild card, Austin Clark, maybe. So I don't know. No, but I don't think it's an automatic that it would be Anthony Weaver.
Yeah, I agree. And the way you phrase the question, like sold on Anthony Weaver, look, if the head coach gets fired in the middle of the season, you ain't got to sell me on nothing. I don't care who I'm thinking about next year when the head coach gets fired in the middle of the year. They could hire me to be the interim head coach, and I'd still be thinking about next year. All right. So it is what it is. I think there's a chance maybe the Dolphins, I think maybe you want to do right by Weaver and give him that opportunity to prove himself. I don't know. I think that's maybe a part of this, but I'm with you. I don't think it's a guarantee that it ends up going to Weaver either.
No, and we entertain the hypothetical, but I don't like doing hypothetical because we're kind of talking about people's jobs here. But the reality of it is in-season coaching changes do happen. So we entertained it here. Toby, thank you again for the contribution. We'll probably be in the same position 4 years from now because Ross refuses to hire an experienced head coach. He wants to find the next great one. You are right about part B. I don't know about part A. I don't want to predict the future. Yes, that Stephen Ross has been on a quest to find the quote-unquote next Don Shula or somebody like that. And if you look at the hires, they're generally on the younger side. And then the other part of it, too, is, the last 3 he's gone from one extreme to another, to player-friendly Adam Gase, to disciplinarian Brian Flores, to player-friendly Mike McDaniel. So if there is a move, we shall see what it entails. Stu, thank you very much for the contribution. Is there a correlation between Mike McDaniel's deliberate word-searching speaking style in press conferences and the pace of his play calling, which sometimes causes delays? Interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. I can tell you he pauses a lot when he does press conferences because he is he's very articulate, he's very bright, and he wants to make sure the message comes out exactly the way he intends it to come out, with no room, perhaps, for anybody to interpret it another way than what he wants. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of could there be an issue? Is it related? I don't know.
That'd be a bit of a stretch for me. I think you can say what you want about Mike, and I'm sure I'll get some pushback on this. He understands offensive football at a very high level.
Yes.
I will get, he has not been perfect as a play caller. I'm not trying to say that he has been or that he can improve or anything along those lines. I think the criticism that people are going to loft at him is very warranted. And frankly, I probably agree with most of it, but Mike understands how to call plays. There is a procedural thing that they have right now that they just haven't been able to get over. I don't know if it's because the plays are wordy, because they're not on the same page for what personnel should be on the field, or if Mike's being indecisive, but I don't know that it's because of his speaking style. To me, that would be a bit of a stretch.
XJ Tua is not getting better. It's impossible. What's impossible for him to get better?
That's the thing with quarterbacks, right? Like you have some guys who don't have. Why does Anthony Richardson go number 5 overall? Because you see the traits of a player who can get better, 4 overall, whatever. You see the traits of a player who can get better, right, over time, right? Like, and here's the thing is like, I think, and you would agree with this, I think Tua has gotten better since his rookie season, right? Like he's a better quarterback now. I think so.
Yeah, but not by a great degree because to me he was fairly polished when he first came into the NFL. That's the one thing he had. He kind of knows how to play the position. There's some clear limits physically.
No, I agree. I'm not arguing with that. That's my entire point is that you draft Anthony Richardson 4th overall because he does not have any physical limitations. And right. you assume, right, and for the Colts wrongly, that they can develop him properly and he's going to become a transcendent talent. And that's why those quarterbacks go as high as they do. Tua does not have that. Even before he got hurt at Alabama, that was not going to be his game either. Right. And so I think ultimately, like, it's not getting better. It's impossible. I think where I've seen Tua improve is the mental side of the game. I think he's significantly smarter in his ability to manage an offense and read coverages than he was as a rookie. But I think that that's a progression that you see for, I don't know, 95% of quarterbacks who play in the NFL long enough. That just kind of comes with time playing the position. Where Tua is not going to improve is adding new traits and abilities to his game because he can't. He cannot. And so, but that's always been the case. That's who Tua's been since he's come into the league, regardless of the offensive failings that were around him during the Brian Flores era and the offensive support that he got during the early portion and of the Mike McDaniel era. That's who Tua's always been. And that's who he's going to continue to be. And like you said, the Dolphins, if they are good enough around him, can win plenty of football games. Tua rarely loses you a football game. Rarely loses you a football game. And I still think he's that quarterback. I think you saw that today. He didn't lose this game for the Dolphins, but he certainly didn't win it either. And so that's what you have. And that's what you've always had.
No, I agree. But to me, like I said, because early on it was always about, well, the talent around him is not good enough. And then Mike McDaniel gets here and all of a sudden, it clicks. And yeah, obviously through experience, you're seeing a more polished quarterback. But to me, I don't know that I saw like this massive step from 2021 to 2022. It's just the talent around him got a hell of a whole lot better. And he got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. All of a sudden, he's got the fastest set of skill position players maybe in NFL history. And that makes a difference. And that's suited for his distribution ability, which is what he is as a quarterback. He's a distributor more than anything else. Charles Ma, thank you very much for the contribution. What do we need to do to get Ross to let go of Greer?
Keep losing football games.
Fan apathy. But
yeah. Chris Greer cannot survive another one.
We so sure about that?
Man, that would be a lot. That would be a lot.
Or he'll get reassigned to a different position in the front office. Would be something else.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Mike Green, Mike, we thank you very much again. We point the finger, but it's called franchise quarterback, meaning wins revolve around Tua, extending drives for the defense, battle line, okay, a good QB, how about without question. But this is why I don't know that if I've ever used the term pure franchise quarterback for Tua. I don't know if that my idea of a franchise quarterback, and this is my always, and I've had an argument with a media member who's a former co-host of this podcast, of like, as long as the Dolphins play in a conference that includes Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow, they need to be on the lookout for a quarterback who can get to that level or close to it. And I know they don't grow on trees, but you never stop looking and accept a quarterback who is good, but clearly not at that level.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to a certain degree. I think I had faith at the beginning of the Mike McDaniel era that Tua could take a meaningful step at the start of the era. I did. I thought that there was enough room in his game where you could get him to be, I'm trying to think of like a good comp, but I really can't, but a player who isn't like elite, but like at the top of like the good tier, if that makes sense, right? Like to me, I saw like him take a step like we saw Jared Goff take under Ben Johnson, like that type of step where it's like, okay, like this is a player who still needs help from his supporting cast. He's not the player that like is necessarily leading the charge, but he's an elite conductor of an elite offense. And Jared Goff really, I think, doesn't get enough credit for some of the stuff that he's done in the past couple years. I was kind of hoping that Tua would do something to that effect. That would be like the best case scenario. And I think every opportunity that the Dolphins had during the stretch where they were playing competitive football in 2022 and 2023, Tua had plenty of opportunities to become that player. There was plenty of games that were close against good teams in meaningful games. And I didn't see it. I just didn't. And I kept waiting and waiting and waiting. And now we're at the point where the arrow might be going in the opposite direction, frankly. I was not impressed with the velocity today either. I still thought it was a step down from last year.
When it's the same, that's to me, it's kind of always been the same. And I always laughed and always, got bashed for making these comments of like, and like because there were a couple of off season. Look, he's got more torque with the hip. Oh, now the hip is healthy. You'll see more velocity. And I would always come into the season. I'm like, what? That's never been the game. The game is he's very accurate if he can set his feet. And go. I'm not a huge Goff guy either. To me, it's like he's another one of those. If everything works great around him, yeah, he'll get the ball around. But
I agree. But what I'm trying to say is like Goff is at like the top of that tier to me personally. You might have a different quarterback at the top of that tier, whatever, right? Like I thought best case scenario, if Tua took a meaningful step, he could be the top of that tier of quarterback. And I think that you have seen teams win playoff games with those quarterbacks, and the Miami Dolphins, ultimately that's their goal right now to end that streak. I know they're going to say it's the Super Bowl.
Right now it's to win a game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong. Right. But like big picture, right? Like that's what we're all waiting for, right? If Tua gets that playoff win, no matter how you feel about him, he becomes the quarterback who broke the playoff streak.
Sure.
And I think a player at the top of that tier is capable of doing that. And that's where I was hoping Tua would go. And that has not happened.
We were about to run out of time here. We're going to get to our mark, but I don't want to leave out anybody who has been kind enough to contribute to the show. We certainly hope you enjoy it, and I appreciate that we're up a little over 650 folks who have joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Toby, again, McD is an OC, not a head coach, not a leader. Mike Martz 2.0. And I have a hard time knocking your point because you're not wrong.
Not off to a good start.
No, Call of Duty one. Thank you very much. Who are the hot college QBs looking towards the draft? They're not drafting a QB very high.
Ask me again in a couple hours.
That's the draft guru right here. All I can tell you is Sellers from South Carolina didn't have a good game last night. I can tell you Arch Manning, if you're one of those, no. I would say I don't know that I don't know how good he is athletically, but I will tell you Carson Beck's looking really, really good.
I'll throw some names out real quick. Sellers got knocked out with a concussion last night. That's why he didn't play well. So not great. He's really athletic. We'll see. So he's a name to watch. Cade Klubnik has not gotten off to a good start from Clemson.
I like him.
He's a name that you are unfortunately going to have to pay attention to. Carson Beck, it looks to be having a bit of a resurgence. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU will be in this class. Drew Aller from Penn State will be in this class. Those are the guys right now off the top of my head. I do think the Dolphins will be in the quarterback market. We'll have to disagree there if things keep going the way that they're going. It's not looking good, though, is what I'll say for the class based on my limited viewing so far.
We shall see. Shadow Fatez, I believe that's how you pronounce it. If it's not, I apologize, and I thank you for the donation. Very, very kind of you. Tua is a nice guy. Cool. After next season, make him Jason Jenkins' replacement while we hopefully have an arm queen, physical rookie QB, new head coach and GM. I will say, all I'll say to that is, I don't know what to say about that, but Jason Jenkins would be somebody to aspire to become absolutely. RIP. He was a gentleman and a great ambassador for the Miami Dolphins. Mike Green, thank you very much again for the donation. Franchise QBs help your deficiencies. That's not Tua. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're also, again, I've been accused a lot more. It's funny though, I've been accused for many, many years of being a Tua hater. Now recently I've been accused of being a Tua apologist. So guys, make up your mind. Which is it? I'd like to think I'm a Tua objective observer, but
it doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, TOO, Tua objective observer. But you guys can comment and tell me what you think about that. Johnny, thank you very much. I don't care what anyone says. A dual threat QB with real size and agility is mandatory in today's NFL. Extend plays, QB sneaks. It's all needed. You're not wrong. And whoa, Dante, I saw you doing like this. Really? Find me one of the elite quarterbacks other than Matthew Stafford who contributes.
I think my definition of like mobile quarterback is probably different than most people's. You know, like I don't think you need you don't need to be a runner past the line of scrimmage. I think you need to be able to move behind the line of scrimmage. And there's a big difference there to me. Joe Burrow is a really good example of a player that is not going to burn you past the line of scrimmage, but he moves really well behind the line of scrimmage. Matthew Stafford's the same thing. Dak, when he still had knees, was a similar prototype of player.
Okay.
So that I draw the line behind the line, if that makes sense. But I understand where this person's coming from, though. Generally, I agree. Yes, you need to have some basic level of mobility. Yes,
and it's a massively valuable asset to have. Absolutely.
Agreed.
We got a couple. We got a few more. We're gonna have to try to make it quick here. Devin, thank you very much, because I don't want to ignore the people who are kind enough to donate. So I'm gonna try to do this very quickly. Please ignore this is what's going on here. Please ignore this. Devin Jordan, Poop, the Dolphins should have never extended Tua. Now we're stuck with him for 2 more years. Unless if they get to that point and they want to go the Denver Broncos route with like Russell Wilson, it's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Johnny, Tua peaked his rookie year versus Arizona. As a scrambler, without a doubt, I will maintain this. He never had a game where he ran in the open field better in that game, which, by the way, was a second start, which to me completely shoots down the notion of like, well, he needed a couple of years to come back from the hip injury. Like, give me a break. I don't know if that was his peak. I think his peak might have been the 2023 opener against the Chargers, which to me was a vastly better game than Baltimore in the fourth quarter, when the Ravens decided they're going to play this very unique defense of not covering anybody the entire second half.
The Chargers game was like the thing that made me think there was another step for him, because of the situations in which he made those throws were just honestly very impressive still.
Correct. No, to me, the best play of his career, and I'm not sure there's a close second, is that long third down completion to Tyreek Hill when he moved up in the pocket.
Great throw.
It was a great throw. Christopher Small, Poop, is JP a step slow? Thank you for the donation. Yeah. I despise seeing him in coverage, but that's just me. He had a couple of pressures, but it's like he's like just not quite getting there. Maybe Dante. What do you think? You think he's a step slow?
I think the speed's fine. He just didn't finish, right? Like he blew right by the tackle on the play where Drake May threw it to Ramondre Stevenson. I thought the speed looks okay to me. Maybe it's not consistent, right? Like maybe he has it in bursts and it's not there all the time. I'm not sure. I mean, he's coming off 2 lower body injuries that sap your athleticism. It's tough. He still looks like he's got the juice to me in spurts. I don't know that it's consistent right now.
Maddo, thank you very much. Is Tyreek also the same player he was 2 years ago? Also, Waddle's going to get killed with the over-the-middle catches. Window seems closed. The thing with Tyreek is, I don't know if you noticed, at one point he's not on the field on the last drive, and it's like, what's going on? Why are you not on the field? And he's just the problem with Tyreek is it's one thing physically after another. Ever since December 2023 with the high ankle sprain against Tennessee. Last year it's the wrist, it was a foot. This year it's the oblique. It's just, again, the body starts to break down when you get older. And you're absolutely right about Jalen Waddle does not have the body type to be catching those slants over the middle. And at some point, Randy Rogers, and I believe that's going to wrap it up with this one. Thank you very much, Randy. Could Marino be a good GM? Fun fact, Dan Marino was a GM for the Dolphins for about 2 weeks back in, I believe it was 2004. Kind of decided, yeah, no, that's too much work. I don't want to be doing this. So I don't know that that's in the cards. Could he be a good GM? Don't know. I don't see it happening, though. I would say that. That's going to wrap it up. We got a funky week this week because the Dolphins play on Thursday night. So everything's going to be shuffled. I can tell you immediately that the Behind Enemy Line segment probably is going to be on Wednesday. Mike McDaniel's talking tomorrow. And guess what? The Dolphins are going to put out an injury report tomorrow. So we'll be back here to recap all of it. In the meantime, again, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Check out our written content at MiamiDolphins.si.com. All for free. He is Dante Collinelli. I am the guy they call Poop. P-O-U-P. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your Sunday.